Miami Mommy Club.
So I just finished The Heart of the Matter, and now I'm standing with the awesome author, and I get to talk to you all about the book. So let's talk about Heart of the Matter.
Okay.
One of the topics that you address is the concept of the working mom. What is your thought on that?
Of the stay-at-home versus working? Well, I think that, I'm a working mother, but that's not to say that I feel like that's the right choice. I think it's such a personal thing. Every family is different. Every relationship is different. And the choice, I think is very individual. And I think that there's this tendency to judge one another and say, she's nothing going on but her children, or she's never with her children. And in writing this book, I did a lot of thinking about that. Why do we as women judge one another? Why do we have that tendency? And I really think that the conclusion that I came to as I wrote this story and really thought about it is that we're not judging to be mean-spirited or to tear each other down. I think that it comes from a place of sort of emotional insecurity and wanting to reassure ourselves that our choices are valid and that, we're doing a good job. So if we criticize someone else, it's akin to saying, and therefore I'm making the right decision and my kids are ultimately going to benefit from it. And so I think it's much more about, wanting to make peace with our own choices.
It's interesting because one of the mom characters in there is constantly telling her daughter, who did give up her career to stay home, is you're going to lose your husband, and guess what happens? Almost something like that happens.
Yes.
So are you indicating that you have to be careful that if you lose yourself, that you may lose everything around you?
Sure. I mean, I never set out to make a point or to send a message to readers or sort of that doesn't come into play. It's very much more an individual story and character driven, and I'm trying to be true to sort of the emotional integrity of the characters without making this, statement. I would, as an aside, tend to agree that it's important to always sort of retain something of yourself. And I don't think you need to work for that. I think it's just a spirit of, knowing who you are and not getting lost in domestic details and sort of, only the children and only being a wife. But I don't think you need to have, a high-power career or really any career to sort of accomplish that. And I will say, my books are not autobiographical, but I do draw on life experiences and experiences of those around me. So inevitably, I will write about concerns that friends have, and I have, stay-at-home mothers who have voiced that concern, and I have a mother who very much like Tessa's mother in the book was a stay-at-home mother, and my parents are divorced. So there might be occasional elements of my own life that sneak into my books.
How does having children inform your writing?
Well, I think that whenever you have a new experience, whatever that experience is, you can write about it. And it's harder to write about it until you've experienced it. So I've written about mothers and children, but until I really was one, I don't think it's different. It's a whole new... for example, when I wrote Baby Proof, which was my third book, it's about a woman who does not want to have children. And I had 10-month-old twins at the time. And everyone said, how could you get into the head of a woman who doesn't want children? And I said, I have 10-month-old twins. It's quite easy to imagine that escape and that, freedom, that bliss